me a long time to kind of like figure out. Like I'd been doing this for quite some time. Maxim 51 is this commanding women to do your bidding will give you a bigger beta margin of error. Again, you want women that will be more forgiving of you. The more alpha you tend to present yourself or she believes you to be, the more willing she is to forgive you for like missteps or you do something that's kind of beta, you do something that's kind of weak. It's one of those things that you can get away with it almost for guys that are strongly alpha. Every once in a while they can like give flowers. They can do more softer things because at a certain point it looks like contrast, the more romantic thing. But we always tell guys from the beginning, it's like if you don't know yourself and you haven't been doing this for some time, there's things you just don't do. You don't show up with flowers. You don't write love notes. There's so many things you don't do, and you'll actually progress. And I talk about this later today is less is more. But when it comes to commanding women, there's a thing called compliance tests that you can kind of figure out if a girl is into you or not. And if you can get her to start complying to you, she will naturally become more submissive. And I say the big four is, of course, if you're at a club or if you're at a bar or if you're at a restaurant, you go, hey, let's move over here. And if she moves and complies, that's a good thing. Some girls will not want to, they'll dig in. They don't like being told what to do at that moment. All women like to be told what to do at some point. But again, there's four, I call them the four initial compliance tests. And that's, hey, let's move upstairs. If you're at a bar, just move her within the same venue. My buddy owns a place down the street. Let's go down there. You want to move her from one location to the next. Again, this is in my How to Build a Dating System book. And you compress time. Girls start feeling that they've been with you longer than they actually have when you move them to multiple physical locations. You just basically bounce. And that's what we always call it. You bounce from one to the next. And usually we recommend at least two locations where you originally show up, bounce to the second, kind of feel it out. You can do a test close. Hey, you want to come up and see my midget at my apartment? And if she says no, you can bounce to the next place. But again, compliance. Is she going where you want her to go? I own a midget. You want to come up and see him. Again, you want to move her to isolation. You want to move her to someplace private where sex can happen. Hey, good morning, buddy. That is the third level of compliance. And then the fourth being, hey, lift your hips, where your guys go, what is that? That's when you're pulling their underwear off. And they'll pretty much, girls know the move. If you hook your fingers through her underwear, she'll lift her hips and they slide right off. Again, these are compliance tests. If you hook your fingers and she pushes her butt into the bed, then so the underwear can't come off, it's non-compliance. See how that works? So that's compliance in the beginning. If you ask for a girl to do something, and then down the road, it's things like having your children or taking your laundry to the dry cleaner, or there's different levels of compliance, or, doing things for you that indicate, if she has time or if logistics allow, or if that's her role within your life. But again, compliance, generally when a girl does like a guy or cares about him, there's a lot of compliance. She will tend to go along with his plans. And you do see it. It's kind of like once you've been doing this for quite some time, and you'll have younger guys go, hey, I'm about to, we're about to graduate college and I'm going to go here for graduate school, but my girlfriend wants to go over here and she's going to go over there. You can go ahead and write 99% of the time, you can write that relationship off. And we usually kind of encourage guys to go ahead and shut it down. And then maybe come back and revisit it in a couple years. Should he still be single or interested, you know, in a couple years. But usually, if a girl really, really, really desires a man, she's going where he's going. She's going to graduate school where he's going. She'll put off school. She'll go where he goes. You see this a lot in the military. Like women just follow the man's career. They pack up and go. Theirs becomes secondary. So a lot of this is compliance, and it's not necessarily always a test, but it's a good way of getting an idea of, is she going along with your plans, or does she have some ideas of her own that don't include you? But that's the compliance, and these are good little things that you can test on a date. You know, hey, let's move over here, and she goes along with it, that sort of thing. And then, hey, let's go. You want to go down the street? I know a bar that's a little bit less loud, you know, and just they start going along again. And it's almost like in sales where you get them to say yes, 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 and yes them all the way into your bed. And that's the real deal. So Maxim number 51 is commanding women to do your bidding will give you a bigger beta margin of error. And you should test this, and you should use compliance, and you should definitely test these things out when you can.